Hi, it has been a minute since I've come on this channel and talked about homeschooling. In fact, that's my baby. It's been a minute since I have recorded a YouTube video. Life is just very busy, and I'm a little bit more on TikTok now than I am here. So if you want to follow me on TikTok, you can follow me at Maple and Roots. That's my personal channel. Is that what they're called? And I also have Maple and Roots Schoolhouse, which I talk solely about homeschooling. But anyway, I just thought I would come on here. If you don't know me, my name is Bethany. I am a homeschool mom of 7 now because I've had a baby since my last video. And as always, as I preface all my videos, my home is loud. I have a lot of kids. I have my oldest daughter who is in college home this year or this summer. We have an intern staying with us, and we just got a puppy, so things are a little bit chaotic here. I just wanted to come on here because I wanted to talk a little bit longer about just our homeschool recap for the past 2 years, and sometimes a 3-minute video just doesn't always get it done. So I just wanted to come in here, and mainly this is kind of to document for myself, just to see how far that we've come from. So I think the last time that I talked about homeschooling on this channel, we were living in a tiny house. And then I made a few videos after that, which just shared that we are no longer in our tiny house. We now live in church housing in a parsonage below our youth center. My husband is the youth pastor and worship pastor. And so we have quite a bit more space now, a significant amount more space. It included things like a homeschool room, which I never even thought I was going to have. I never even contemplated a homeschool room because it was kind of out of reach for me. So I am very blessed now to have a room. However, we don't really school in our homeschool room. It's a library. That's what it is. It houses our books and our art and all that jazz. And right now it's housing my college student. Anyway, so we have transitioned, and I think I talked about it previously, but we have really transitioned into being year-long homeschoolers. And this happened in the end of 2020 because we took off a amount of time to move into our tiny house and then to move into this building. And then I got pregnant. And just in planning the next few years, we looked at our year schedules and we said, okay, we need to figure out a way that we are getting enough school. Not that they're getting enough, because I really don't believe in that, but documentation wise. And we felt like going to a year-long schedule where we have a lot more flexibility was just a better fit for a family, especially with being in full-time ministry. It just worked better for us. So that's what we've done. We've gone into a year-long schedule. So this past year, or in 2021, I had a baby in August. And so we took off a little bit of time there. We didn't necessarily start when other people start back to school. But we actually took off a majority of time in October this year, which we don't normally do. But we held a big revival service, so that was a huge weekend, and my parents came to visit. And then we got COVID, so we just took off basically that month. We did do some things, but for the most part we took off that month. And then this past year we actually took off a little bit of more time in April because we got really sick again. We didn't have COVID, but we got sick again. And then our daughter came home for break, so we just wanted to spend time with her. And then before we knew it, we're just like, okay, this has turned into a couple of weeks. So that's just kind of a little picture into our schedule. So even though we are now schooling year round, it's middle of June, we're still doing school, and we will be doing school through the summer. I really do consider June to be my end of year, and I do consider August, September to be kind of our new school year. And realistically, we finished our curriculum for this past year in March. So we have been, I wouldn't say unschooling, because there's definitely structure to what we're doing, but we haven't been using majority of the curriculum that we purchased for last year because we finished it in March. So that brings me to what we've been doing. The last time I think I talked about homeschooling on this channel, I could be wrong, but I think I was homeschooling for free for a year. And for that period of time when I was doing that, that was a really good fit for our family. However, when we moved out of the tiny house and while we were waiting for this home to be built for us, we were actually staying in the auditorium of our youth center. It was a little chaotic. I was pregnant and I was very, 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 very sick for a significant amount of time for the pregnancy, for at least half of it. And then we had all this construction going on and all of this. And at some point I just felt, okay, I think like we need a little bit more structure to our education, because what we were doing just was very mundane and just going through the motions, and I didn't really feel like my kids were reaping the best benefits out of that. So I did what I do and I changed things up, and that's what if you know me in real life, you know I'm always saying, oh, I bought a new curriculum, oh, I bought a new, oh, we're doing this, oh, we're doing that. And that's the ADHD in myself and my husband and likely my children. So additionally, I have spoken on this channel many times about how I have never found a history curriculum that really suits my needs or my standards. I'm extremely picky with history curriculums. My father is a historian and history teacher, and it's kind of like in my blood. And I have found majority of homeschool Christian history curriculum to kind of miss the mark in a lot of ways. That's a different video for a different day. But I did find over that period of time, I did discover knotgrass. And now I have seen knotgrass in the homeschooling community for many, many years, but it wasn't anything that I ever really looked at. I just kind of glanced and I would move on. However, I began to look at knotgrass and I have fallen in love with that company. Now, I utilize we started in From Adam to Us, and we will be finishing that probably in the early fall, depending on how much we get through this summer. We don't do history every day, and we also will stop and chew on things. And because we're, From Adam to Us is their world history for, I think it's 4th grade through 8th grade. I don't, maybe 5th grade through 8th grade. But because of that, we do stop and chew a lot. Like we, take a lot of time in the early church, and we'll go on bunny trails. And so we kind of, where we end, or when we end is when we end. And that's how I utilize history. But I do utilize knotgrass a little bit different, and I can go further at a different time and how I utilize knotgrass. Knotgrass can be a really intense history program, and that's not what I'm personally looking for. And so I just do it a little bit different, and I treat it very much like a living book, like I do, other living books in our education. So we're using knotgrass. The one thing that has not changed in our homeschooling is our math. I love Life of Fred. It is what I have used. It is what I love. It's what I know. My children love Life of Fred. As of right now, it works for all 4 of my, well, I have one who hasn't started on it, so I guess all 3 of my learners, and then of course my oldest daughter who has since graduated high school. Life of Fred has just been so good to us that I am extremely loyal to it, and it's what works. And for those of you who ask if Life of Fred is enough, I think I have a Life of Fred review where I talk about the high school process, but yeah, it's enough. So that's like the one steady thing that has changed. Now, I did do something that I didn't actually ever anticipate myself doing, and that was looking at Masterbooks. Now, I think Masterbooks is a really great company. I don't have anything against Masterbooks at all. I think it's a fantastic company. It just wasn't anything that really ever interested me in our education. But when I was in the midst of my pregnancy and I was really struggling and I just needed something a little bit open and go that I didn't have to really plan for, I purchased the Masterbooks Language Arts. So I purchased for my, well, she's now 13, so I guess my 12-year-old, my 10-year-old at the time, and then my 7-year-old at the time, because it's what we needed. We needed something that was very open and go, that they could open up, they could see what they had to do for the day, I could guide them, but I didn't have to put a lot of planning into it, and it really helped bring some not stability. I don't think that that's really the right word, but a better rhythm back to our homeschool day. Can you hear that? That is my children singing. Always. Things have not changed here. They're so loud. And it's a big building, but they're still so loud. Anyway, so I began to utilize master books, and for the year, it has been a really good fit. As I said, they finished in like February, March time, and they learned quite a bit. I used writing strands with my oldest learner, and who was 12 then turned 13, and it was an extremely good fit. It really helped her to refine. I know there's controversy about writing strands. I know like either you love it or you hate it. I'm actually kind of in the middle. Like I liked it for the time that we had it. I felt like it did help her to become a better writer and to just refine the mechanics of writing. And surprisingly, so my Adeline, my now 13-year-old, she gets bored quite easily, and she has been kind of a reluctant writer for many years, but she really was not reluctant about writing strands. She actually very much enjoyed it. And so for me, that's a win. That's a huge win in our house. And then my daughters, I should have looked up the names before I started filming or grabbed the books, but they're in our schoolroom, which my 21-year-old is staying in right now. So then we did the living lessons for language arts education, whatever the master books is. I don't even know what I'm doing, for Lila and Asher. And so I felt like this is a really good fit for Asher because he is reading, and that has really grown and blossomed this school year, but it just really helped to, again, refine a lot of what was going on in his education, what he needed. I had never really used a program with him or really necessarily curriculum before that. I had done some things, but not really. So this was just kind of his first experience with that, and he did very well. He did kind of get bored towards the end because master books, like especially their language art, it is very repetitive in how it's set up. And that's actually like my biggest issue with most homeschool curriculums, is that I find them too repetitive and I get bored. So towards the end, he was just a little bit like, oh, okay, yep, it's the same setup every single week. And, it didn't bring frustration. It just brought in a little bit of boredom. And then with Lila, who is I don't know how to word her. I have been able to give Lila basically anything, and she has excelled in it school-wise. She is just a very eager learner, and however, I didn't really feel like this was a great fit for her. She did the work, she did well, but she didn't love it. I think she would have probably preferred writing strands a little bit better, and she definitely got quite bored of it towards the end. She didn't have as much eagerness to learn or jump in as I have seen her previously with other content that we have done. So I actually thought that was really interesting that my two kind of more reluctant learners did better with master books, and master books is quite slow and gentle, and that could be why. And my more eager learner was just it just really wasn't her cup of tea. So I felt like that was really interesting. And then science. And if you previously have watched my homeschool content, science is a struggle for me because while I have studied herbalism and I've done some prerequisites for being a midwife and all of those things, science is just not it for me. It's just not. And so I found in homeschooling, usually whatever the main teacher excels at is what they tend to teach better or more of. And so in our home, that's history and then English language arts. And so, science has been a struggle for me. So first of all, I find science curriculum to be outrageously expensive. And for me, I'm always like, well, I don't want to purchase like this kit and this program and then like not use it, which is a struggle for us. Not a struggle, it's just how we are. And I think that that's okay. I actually think it's perfectly okay to jump around in curriculums, and it's okay to just change up what you're doing. That I'm a huge believer in that. But I don't like wasting money. I struggle with that. And so I've really struggled. So we have previously, and well, I guess I should go back because it's been so long since I've talked about homeschooling. Um, Essentially what I did was I was purchasing gather round curriculums and incorporating those specifically for our science, or gather round units for our science in our homeschool. So we did earth science, and we stretched it out and we chewed on it. My children were not a fan. I thought it was interesting. My children, I don't know if it was the way it was presented or if it was just my kids just really did not like the earth science. Wait, is that what we did? Yeah. It just wasn't a fit for us. And so, but so then I also did, like, we've done our own like kind of space unit. We've done lots of plants, nature studying, journaling, and stuff like that. So for this upcoming school year, I have purchased a new science curriculum, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm planning to talk about that in a previous video. Hopefully get it done. Again, my kids are loud. My bedroom is off the kitchen, so it's just so loud. And then of course we incorporate art and music and all of those things, but we're very much more child-led learning in that aspect. So we did do quite a bit of watercolor this year, and I did a whole watercolor mural on the baby's wall and things of that nature. But that's basically our core and what we have done. So when we finished our Master Books Language Arts curriculum in February, March, I can't remember when it was, I did purchase another unit from Gather Round because I love Gather Round. I love Gather Round. And so I thought that it would be a really good fit to do, especially in the early spring. So I purchased the Living Off the Land unit, and it was excellent. However, I don't know what it is, and I think it's just us. It's just our family, and this is a common thread woven through this video. But we really struggled to complete the unit, and I'm not sure if it's with my kids and it's so much of one subject that they just kind of get exasperated from it. I'm not really, I really haven't like figured out what that was, but we loved the unit. We loved what we learned from it. We did the Little House series all along with the unit, so we just read all the Little House books along with it. We're almost done. But it wasn't their favorite. They liked it, but I don't know. I don't really know how to explain why it's not fitting for us. I love Gather Round. I love the company. I love how it started. I love all of that. But for us at this moment in time, it just hasn't been a great fit. So I'm not sure in the future if I will purchase any more Gather Round curriculums. In fact, my husband is like, this costs like a lot of money because we purchased it. You know, we get the full pack and then I print it, and it costs so much money to print. And my husband's just like, and then I find all these papers all over the place, and then the kids they're just not really into it. And so that's kind of our recap. And I've reviewed Gather Round units on this channel before, and it previously was a really good fit for us. Currently, it is not a good fit for us. And that could change as my children grow older, as I added more learners, because Micah, who just turned 6, I don't really do formal education until about 6. So he's just coming into the pack. So I will have 4 learners this year. And then, of course, I still have a 3-year-old and currently a 10-month-old. So that could change. But as of right now, it's just not working for our family. And that's nothing against the curriculum. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't work for your family or anyone else's family. It just doesn't work for our family at the moment in our stage of life that we're in. So that's our kind of 2-year recap. Of course, there's a lot more that I haven't fit in this video, but I don't want to make a 3-hour video. That's just, no one has the attention span for that. I definitely don't. So yeah, that's about it. I hope to come on and share a little bit more about what we're going to be doing in our new school year, because everything except for history and math is changing. We will be definitely doing Life of Fred. And history, we're going to continue with Knotgrass. When we're done with From Adam to Us, we're going to transition into American history, and I'm actually going to do, I think, 2 separate things. So that's kind of our school recap. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them below. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok, because I talk a little bit more there, or I'm a lot bit more consistent there. My homeschool TikTok is at Maple and Roots Schoolhouse, and my personal one is just Maple and Roots. And yeah, have a great day. And if you're still here, you get a cookie.